Hey readers, welcome to the Start of Readers Workshop mini lesson. So today we are going to be talking about how you as readers are able to notice and understand how the author uses similes and metaphors. Okay, before we do that, we need to talk about what a simile and what a metaphor is. So similes and metaphors both do the same thing. They both compare two unlike things, but there's a little bit of a difference between the two. A simile is a comparison of two different things, and it uses the words like or as. So it's comparing two different things while using the word like or as. A metaphor compares two different things, and it does not use the words like or as. So a simile example is, on her first day of school, Jane was as cool as a cucumber. And a metaphor is, Noah has a heart of a lion. So the metaphor is still comparing Noah to the heart of a lion, but it doesn't use the word like or as. Jane is as cool as a cucumber, and it does use the word like as, so that would be a simile. So similes and metaphors do the same thing. They compare two different things, but similes use the words like or as, and metaphors do not. So now, let's look at some book examples and see if we can't figure out if it's a simile or a metaphor. I cut through the lane and bump into Marcus. It's like running into a rock. You're too small. Get out of the way. Get out of here or I'll push you out. So the author says here, it's like, when he bumps into Marcus, he says, it's like running into a rock. It's like running into a rock. Would that be a simile? Are we comparing two things using the words like or as, or are we comparing without like or as? Comparing two things, we're comparing Marcus to a rock. So is this a simile or a metaphor? That's right, this is a simile because they're comparing Marcus to a rock. Running into Marcus is like running into a rock. So we use the word like there. So they're saying Marcus is so strong that when he runs into him, it's kind of like running into a rock. So that was a simile. Now let's look here. The crowd gathered around the court and someone's turned on music. Finish it off, Marcus, a tall kid shouts. We've got winners. Marcus leans forward and makes a move. I slide my feet and the ball hits his leg and skips out of bounds. He glares at me but doesn't say a thing. I zoom down the court, ferocious like a lion. I bounce past a Slinky, who scores off the board. So this line right here, I zoom down the court, ferocious like a lion. We're comparing James. We're comparing James to a lion. So is that a simile or a metaphor? It is another simile because they're saying he is ferocious like a lion. If they had said he is a ferocious lion, then that would be a metaphor. So this is a simile here, and they're comparing how aggressive he is and how ferocious he is, that he's as ferocious as a lion. So these two are both examples of similes. It's like running into a rock and ferocious like a lion. Those are both similes. And the first one shows you how hard it is to move Marcus. And the second one, ferocious like a lion, describes James and says that he's powerful and strong. So when we're looking at those similes and metaphors, we're looking for the words, okay, like or as, but we also have to be comparing two unlike things. So now we're going to read the poem Flounders. Flat as a pancake, flat as a crepe, flounders are flat as a prairie in shape. While waiting on their smooth white side, below the sand for food they hide, awaiting shrimp and smaller fishes, these flattish, mattish, living dishes. So I want you to answer, what is the author comparing flounders to? What is he comparing flounders to in this book, or in this poem? He compares it to a couple of things. He says flat as a pancake, so he's comparing it to pancakes, saying it's so flat it's like a pancake, so flat it's like a crepe, which is like an even smaller, thinner pancake. And then it says that they are as flat as a prairie, so like a very flat grassland. So since we use the word as 3 times, these would be similes. So the comparison that he's making is comparing the flounder to different flat things. So those would be similes here. And it describes the flounder so that you can help you imagine how flat the fish really is. So now let's look at a little book of sloth. Baby sloths are Jedi masters of the hug. Their innate hug ability helps them cling to their moms for the first year of their lives. They love to hug so much, collectively they form a cuddle puddle. I want to focus on that first sentence. Baby masters are Jedi masters of the hug. What are they comparing baby sloths to? And is it a simile or a metaphor? Are they comparing with the word like or as? Or are they just saying, no, baby sloths are this thing. They're not like it, they are this thing. So is this a simile or a metaphor? This one's actually a metaphor because it doesn't say baby sloths are like Jedi masters. They say baby sloths are Jedi masters of the hug. So they're comparing baby sloths to Jedi masters of the hug. So sloths are Jedi masters of the hug. This would be a metaphor because it describes the sloths, saying sloths are so relaxed and they are really, really good at hugging. So similes and metaphors are very common, and it's very important that we distinguish between the two. So it's important that you understand as a reader that writers use similes and metaphors to compare one thing to another. Now for your job today, I want you to find in your independent reading book a place where the author compares two things and decide if it's a simile or a metaphor. So if it's a simile, then if it's a simile, it's going to use the words like or as. If it's a metaphor, it's not. So after you identify, so you're going to write down the thing, identify if it's a simile or a metaphor, and then you're going to say what you think the author means by that comparison. And I will have a picture just below to remind you. You're going to submit this during your reflection of reading today. All right? You guys are awesome.